Hi everyone, in this video let's talk about identifier naming rules and best practices to follow. To start with, for the metric name, we should stick to this regex for while defining the metric name. So as per this regex, metric name can start with either lowercase letter or uppercase letter, underscore or colon character, followed by almost similar set of characters, and digits are also allowed, but metric name should not start with the digit. That's the first rule to keep in mind. And coming to the labels, they're optional, and if they are present, uh, we know that they are key value pairs. Key is the label name and value is the label value. For label names, again, this is a regex we need to follow. It is similar to the metric name regex, just that colon character is missing, and yeah, otherwise both are same. And label name should not begin with two underscores, because that start is reserved for the internal use, so it's not allowed. Label value, there is no restriction. All type of characters are allowed. And when label value is missing, it is as good as the label itself is missing. Coming to best practices, obviously we should try to obey the naming conventions mentioned in the previous slide. And for a metric name, it's good practice to prefix it with either application name or some generic name as domain or namespace. For example, if you are dealing with any application specific metric, then put the application name as a prefix. Otherwise, if you're dealing with some generic or standardized metric, like let's say if you're capturing the CPU time or something for a belongs to a process, then the metric name can start with process underscore. Let's say if we are counting the number of HTTP requests or interactions, then probably that metric name can start with HTTP underscore. Basically, the prefix will help us to resolve any naming conflicts, or help us to betterly organize the metrics. Next one is that use single unit across metrics, like don't mix up the units. Like units means, let's say it can be either bytes or seconds or meters or extra. So if we take one metric, try to measure all the values of for that metric in the same unit. And if possible, try to stick to the same unit across the metrics. So that will simplify the person who's doing the analysis later or using those metrics later. They don't have to do any unnecessary conversions or such that. And stick to base units. Like there's something called base units, like for time it's seconds, and for distance it is meters. So like that. So these base units are supported across different monitoring systems. So for compatibility sake, and and base units are easy to be converted into the different units. So it's recommended to use the base units. And more information about what base units are supported in Prometheus is can be found here in this link. And one more thing about units is that it's good practice to include what units the value are represented in the metric name itself, so that it's easy to refer. And one more important aspect of metric name is that if you drop out the prefix and if you take the rest of the part, you should represent the same thing across different label combinations. Let's say we have a metric related to a queue, and the metric should and it is meant for representing queue capacity, and it should represent only queue capacity across different label combinations. It should not represent the number of elements in the queue or queue size for few label combinations, because if you do any aggregation by dropping all the labels, you don't get any useful or meaningful value. aggregated value. So it's best practice to make sure that metric is representing the same thing across different label combinations. And one more important thing to keep in mind about labels is that make sure that labels we pick are, I mean, the possible values are definitive. If you're dealing with indefinite if you want to use something which is indefinite like user IDs or email address, the cardinality can lead to huge amount of storages, and that's not going to yield a better experience. So that's all I would like to cover in this video about naming conventions and best practices. So try to stick to the naming conventions mentioned in this slide, and then use the application name or generic name as a starting word in the metric name, and try to stick to the same unit across metrics and within the metric, and try to use base units to represent the values, and make sure that metric is talking about same, I mean, not same value, I mean to say, um, it is dealing with the same aspect irrespective of labels combination, and make sure that labels cardinality is definitive. So with this I would like to conclude this video. Thank you.